Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
And thanks for joining us for the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, along with your Assistant City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, John Fitzpatrick. John, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, well, we've got a lot coming up today. And in the first half of today's show, we'll talk about some municipal news updates. And in the second half, we'll come back and talk about some agenda highlights from the upcoming Tuesday, August 24th Common Council meeting. So, John, some of our topics today, an update on COVID-19 as it relates to the city of Oshkosh, and what's the latest?
Sure. I think everybody's a little bit disappointed. You know, we thought we were heading out of the woods with COVID, but as people are aware, if they've been watching the news, there's been a little bit of an uptick, especially with the Delta variant. So
right.
We've been working pretty closely with CDC in terms of applying their recommendations to our organization and the workforce, and our care for the public in terms of our interactions.
Right.
So in terms of the conditions that exist in our county, based on their recommendations, they suggested that we reinstitute our masks in indoor settings. So that's what we did beginning this past Monday. So I know a lot of citizens and I know employees were disappointed because we had to, it seemed like, backslide a little bit, but I still think we're making great progress, and I hope that it's just a temporary condition and things can continue to get better because everybody is COVID weary, certainly.
Right. And just to clarify, this relates to city-operated buildings. It's
right.
not for every building in the city.
Absolutely not. No,
right.
It's just the city buildings, and it's a requirement for our employees and also anybody that's a visitor that comes into the building. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And we also like to remind folks as well that there are resources available through Winnebago County. WCVaccine.org is a resource where you can learn about vaccination sites and get the latest numbers for the county and different opportunities there to learn more. And also Go Transit is providing free transportation for individuals that are on their way to a vaccination appointment.
Right. Yes, and in regard to mask wearing, that is something that is a little bit of an exception. I think the requirement for people inside the buses also still exists and hasn't been altered since the COVID situation was discussed with us last time. So.
Right. Yeah, that federal order is still in place.
Right.
Okay. All right, and we'll keep folks updated on that situation as it evolves. I know recently we've had some a lot of construction projects going around the city. I know that Jackson Street actually had a lot of kind of a facelift.
Right, yeah, it's a good way to put it, I think. I can provide a little bit of background for people who are wondering, why is this happening and what's actually happening. And so I think to give people a little perspective, Jackson Street and the speed on Jackson Street and concern by neighbors has been an issue for quite some time. And because of the amount of traffic that exists on Jackson and how many people are traveling in that area, the families in that area have been concerned about the speed, concerned, of course, about their children in that area.
We've heard that for a while.
Yeah, we've heard it for quite some time, since the expansion of Jackson, which is quite a while. So we're constantly looking at that, and we're also looking at crash rates throughout the city. And I think Andy, that there have been some of the highest rates of crashes on Jackson Street in terms of any other locale in the city. So in consideration of all that, and also I think thinking about it, from past to future, I think people may be aware that in the future, the Oshkosh Area School District is planning on relocating Merrill School.
That's right.
And it's my understanding that the existing plan right now is to utilize that open athletic field right on Jackson. So in consideration of some of the concerns from the past and also what might take place in the future with that school right there on Jackson, the idea came forward for us to implement a road diet to try to improve some of the safety, to slow some of the traveling public down in that area, and try to make it, better for everybody that and safer for everybody that's traveling in that location.
Right. We're seeing some video here prior to the restriping of the road.
Yeah.
So, basically we're looking at 2 travel lanes northbound and 2 travel lanes southbound.
Yes.
And in the new configuration, there's 1 travel lane north, 1 south, and then a turning lane in the middle.
Right. Exactly. And that's what's really meant by the metaphor for a road diet. It's just really the concept is just to slim down the traffic a little bit. There's still 2 lanes of traffic with the opportunity for people to use that center lane to make turns safely. But it shouldn't be used as a passing lane.
Right.
That's really not the purpose of it. It's really used to facilitate turning movements. And it's much like Murdoch. So we made that change on Murdoch, and I know sometimes people are resistant to change, as they were when we worked with the Department of Transportation on roundabouts.
Right.
But I think after people can become accustomed to that a little bit more and become more familiar with it, it's not that big of a deal. And I think, I've had a lot of people come up to me since we've made some of those changes with the roundabouts and Murdoch and say, hey, I love the roundabouts. I can get from one end of Oshkosh to the other in about 10 minutes. I don't have to wait at stop signs. And crash indicators have been reduced tremendously. So, I know change is difficult, but I think this is something that is being done with, the best interests of everyone in mind.
Right, right. Well, I know some facts that we have are that road diets have been shown to reduce the overall crash rates by up to 47%.
Yep.
So, that's significant.
Right.
And there are less points where crashes can occur in that sort of layout.
Right, exactly. Just like roundabouts, the crash points are not at angles where it's those crashes, when they do exist, are more severe.
Right, right.
So,
and benefits for pedestrians as well, a little
absolutely.
more safety.
And especially in consideration of, the amount of younger children that might be in that area. So that's really the thought process, past, present, and future. And hopefully that helps provide a little more insight, into the decision-making process to institute that road diet.
Right, right. Thank you for that background. Sure. And just a couple other things. I did receive some updates from our transportation department that signage is currently in the process of being installed, and it's almost complete. And there will be some beacons for the new crosswalk at Jackson and Congress, and those are currently on back order, but will be installed once they're received. And the majority of this plan will be complete before school starts.
Right.
So, okay, and we'll keep folks updated on the situation with all of that as well. Okay, then also, John, we have some exciting news. We have a new individual in our community development department. Not a new individual, but a new person in a new job role.
Right, exactly. It's Kelly Nyforth, and for people that might have worked with her in the past, she's been a great employee for us for a long time now. And she, just a little bit of background, because I know, I've been working with her and working on plans for her in different positions. She really started out with us as an economic development expediter. And the concept behind that original position that we created, that she filled, was that we wanted to try to be more friendly with the development community. We wanted to try to make it easier for them to develop in the city of Oshkosh. So we came up with this concept of kind of a concierge for developers. So when they came to the community, it would be easy for them to work with one point person And then that point person would have knowledge of our organization and be able to, connect with all the people inside our organization much more easily, so they just have that one point of contact. And she did a great job with that. And then after that, some changes took place in terms of economic development in our community. In the old model, we had CHAMCO, and we also had the chamber.
Right.
But things have changed a little bit, where there's now an organization called GoEDC. CHAMCO ceased to exist. And we thought we needed to be a little more involved in economic development formally, and which prompted us to create an economic development division. And she, after her experience as an expediter, was promoted into that economic development division manager job. So she's really taken on some critical roles and created some great relationships with people inside the organization. I think initially because of that expediter role, but also outside the organization too, in terms of the development community. And I think she's really well experienced to be successful in that job.
And she's great to work with. She has a wonderful attitude and outlook.
Yep.
So
Yes.
I think she brings a positive energy, and I think that'll be fantastic for the community.
She does. And just one more thing, her role as community development director is not only just to focus on economic development. It's the assessor's division is in her department, inspections, trying to think of who else. Inspections, assessors, and what am I missing, Andy?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me. But overall, the community development and
Right.
grant writing and all that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, as I mentioned before, her work with staff inside the organization across a variety of departmental lines has really given her, I think, a great foundation to establish trust and be able to work very efficiently with a variety of different folks, including those people that she's going to be leading as a director of that department.
Right, right. And she's an Oshkosh native, and I know that she's excited to start her role on Monday, August 23rd.
Right. Planning's the other division. How can I forget?
There you go. Okay, thanks.
Yes.
All right. Another positive thing for our community is Oshkosh Police Department has some resources available to better serve the autistic residents when they have calls for service.
That's right. I think this is really a positive program, and OPD is, very conscious of the citizenry that we serve, and they're a great example, I think, for us in terms of how we need to consider the needs of all of our citizenry. And I think, an initiative like this where sensory bags are being available when officers are interacting with citizens that are autistic, it's an example of some of the things that we're working on to try to build in diversity, equity, and inclusion into the thought process of all of our departments. I know that it's some communities have diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinators, and I think that's a good resource. But I think, and we may or may not be able to get to that point where we're able to have a position that's staffed to do that, but I think it's also important to recognize that it's not just one person's job. Everybody has to be part of the thought process and build those thoughts into their planning for whatever they're responsible for in terms of their departments, so we can all be successful. And they have unique perspectives in terms of what they do in their area of expertise, and thinking about it from that context. And police clearly is doing that here. I think that'll really help us become the most welcoming community we can be. And that's really the whole goal, to try to be inclusive and do a good job to represent our entire citizenry.
And we're looking at some of the items that are included within the bags. And my understanding is that when there's a call for service, that the resident would be able to choose one of those items to keep. So it's kind of a nice thing.
Yeah.
And the items were all donated. And if folks would like to help support the project, they can contact Officer Kate Mann at 236-5742.
Right. I think, police are very conscious of their interactions with the public, and for people that don't interact with them very frequently, they're always they don't want to come across as scary, and especially to someone who may, be anxious about interactions personally anyway. So, I just think it's a really good program and a really good thought process, and I hope it's successful.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to make mention that the Oshkosh Public Library has a survey open for feedback about their website. So we're trying to let folks know that survey is available.
Right, yep. Hopefully we'll get some feedback, and I know the public library is always interested in trying to, improve and, meet the citizens' needs. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback.
Right. There was a little pop-up box in the left-hand corner there just a moment ago, and that's what you click to get to the survey. So please complete the survey by August 31st, and they welcome your feedback. John, also we wanted to make mention that there have been several events that Oshkosh Parks has been intending to present, but the weather hasn't been very cooperative, unfortunately. So
that's right.
We just wanted to remind folks that these events are coming up at their rescheduled dates.
Right. I know for people that have participated in this in the past, Live at Leach is a program that we have on Tuesday nights where we feature some local bands, and we've had some food trucks out there in the past, and it's held at the Leach Amphitheater, and that's been successful. But the new program that we've implemented, I believe this year, Brews on the Bay. I don't know if you've been out there, Andy. I thought you mentioned you might have been out there.
I shot this video.
Yeah, it's really taken off, and we're really surprised. I think we had our first event out there at Brews on the Bay, and somebody said we had like 3,000 people out there. It was crazy.
I believe it.
Not crazy because it was wasn't fun or wasn't safe. It was just pleasant. We were pleasantly surprised by the turnout, and we can't take complete credit for this. We modeled this program, I think, after the beer gardens that exist in Milwaukee County that are hugely successful, and we kind of parallel Milwaukee in a variety of ways with our waterfront areas and our love for local beer, locally produced beer. So for people that are interested, it's I think it's a Wednesday night. Once a month is what we're doing right now. There's live music down there. There are local craft beers that are made available, and it's just a real laid-back atmosphere, and I think people have really taken to it, really enjoy it.
Right. That is coming up on Wednesday, August 25th, and the musical performance will be by Copperbox Duo, and they'll have the craft beers and food trucks and all kinds of things. And also, just to recap, the Live at the Leach, actually that is featuring the band Star 69, and that's coming up on Tuesday, August 31st, beginning at 5:30 at the Leach Amphitheater. So we remind folks that those events are coming up. So looks like, John, we're at about the point where we'll take a short break, and please stay with us for some agenda highlights from the upcoming Tuesday, August 24th Common Council meeting. You're watching the City Manager's Report.
Hi, I'm Donald Driver, and I always wear my seatbelt, and so does everyone that rides with me.
Hey, I'm Brad from La Crosse, and I never wear a seatbelt.
Well, that's unfortunate for Brad, because even a car crash at just 15 miles an hour can feel like being hit by a 300-pound lineman. And to add insult to injury, you'll get a ticket for not wearing your seatbelt. So take it from a driver who always wears a seatbelt. Click it or ticket, and let's achieve 0 deaths on Wisconsin roads. Zero in Wisconsin, a vision we can all live with.
And welcome back to the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, along with Assistant City Manager John Fitzpatrick. Let's take a look at some agenda highlights from the upcoming Tuesday, August 24th Common Council meeting. So, John, we have several different things coming up on the meeting. It looks like there's some conditional use permits, and one of them is for an outdoor storage use at Bradley Street.
Right. That's something that I think it doesn't seem very exciting in terms of the on face, but really what it is we have some debris piles that exist down in the Sawdust District area, and so this is a use permit to move those to a different location and to allow them to do the crushing at a different spot. And I think that what it signifies is, although we've talked about the T-wall development that's going to kick off down there, it really signifies that activity is moving forward on this.
Right.
So it's exciting because, as you know, Andy, that's one of the areas in the city that we've targeted to try to improve, especially along the waterfront area and by Pioneer Island. So I think these developers have been successful in a variety of different areas, and we're very excited to see what might take place, not only with their development, but then after their development is in place, how it might spur additional development in the Sawdust District.
Right. Well, it's exciting to see that not only is there the promise of this new development, but we have some movement on the initial work to be started.
Right, exactly.
Okay, and then another conditional use permit. We're out south of the city now at the Aviation Business Park, and they would like to put some signage there to denote the existence of the business park.
That's right, and I think this is something that has been in the works for quite some time, and it was slowed a little bit because we had some difficulty, and the county had some difficulty in terms of implementing the taxiway there, but that's all been in place now, and I think it's my understanding at the last EAA this past summer that there were some real interesting potential tenants that might be locating there, so we'll keep our fingers crossed, but I think that also has a lot of promise, so we're hopeful.
Sure. And here's a look at a rendering of what the sign will look like, so should be a nice marker there.
Right.
Okay, and then we're at the Sunnyview Expo Center. They are requesting approval for some updates and modifications to their facility.
Right. I think they are interested in trying to update some of their camping areas. So they're going to be expanding some of those areas. They're going to be working on improving some drainage, placing some lighting in some areas, and just really kind of updating an area that I know the community has used and enjoyed for quite some time. So I think we certainly are supportive of assisting with that process for the county. So
right.
Because it is so much enjoyed by the community.
Right. Well, it's Event City, and that's where a lot of the events happen.
That's
so
true.
It makes sense to keep it updated.
Right.
Okay. Then also we have an item for the Great Neighborhoods organization. They have a capital improvement program, and they have several projects that they'd like to move forward with.
Right, and just a little bit more on the Great Neighborhoods program and just the idea behind our neighborhood associations. We have quite a few neighborhood associations that exist in the city of Oshkosh. The thought process behind them is to try to link neighbors together so they can get to know each other, work together, improve their neighborhood, have pride, feel like they have a say. And this program is really designed to listen to them and see what sort of amenities we can work with them on to try to improve their neighborhood. And these are specifically focused on Stevens Park, River East. There's going to be some potential gazebo installations, some benches. So I think it'll really be a nice addition to those areas.
Sure, right. And then we have another item coming up. It's a change order, but it relates to a Four Seasons building at Lakeshore Park, is it?
That's right. This is a change order to extend, I believe, some utilities, some water and sewer utilities to that area of Lakeshore Park in anticipation of the Four Seasons building. And again, that's a real exciting project that I know has been taking a little while to get through the plan approval process, but it's my understanding that that bids may be taken in the next month or so. So that's just really going to be a beautiful facility off of Oshkosh Avenue that the community can use for a whole variety of things. it's just really, for those folks that haven't seen some of these renderings and what's planned, I think it's so beautiful, and the location is so nice. You could use it for almost anything. Just casual get-togethers with your family, or people have talked about having their own outdoor wedding there. So it's just really going to be a real nice addition to our community.
Absolutely. What a wonderful location for that facility. Okay, and then we have continued items here, a resolution relating to, I believe it's the Riverwalk at Pioneer Island.
Right, yes. And speaking of that Four Seasons building, which is located kind of on Oshkosh Ave, this part of the Riverwalk Trail is really located more toward that area that we talked about earlier, where the T-wall construction is, development's going to take place near the Sawdust District. So
okay, we
don't have many legs of the Riverwalk remaining. We're very proud of the improvements that have taken place, and people really, we've heard a lot of positive comments, and people just love the Riverwalk. And we've been recognized by the DNR for reclaiming a lot of our old industrialized area along the river and making it more available to our citizens. And it's very exciting to know that we're nearing completion of all of the elements that we originally discussed as part of this project. So having this take place and having those developments take place in that south side area near the Sawdust District, it's very exciting.
Okay. And then we're approving a labor contract.
Right. I know a little bit about that because I was involved in that process with our firefighters, firefighter paramedics, and it took a little bit longer, as sometimes it does, but I think it's really a good agreement for both sides. I know that one of the elements associated with this agreement was a change in the schedule, which I know is something that needed to be carefully considered by not only the city but the membership. And through dialogue with representatives of the union, I think we'll be able to successfully implement this change, which is going to be a major thing, for those employees in that area. And I think it's going to be beneficial for them, as well as the city. So we're happy to bring this to the council, and I think it's a fair agreement for both sides and for the citizenry.
Sure. And I'm just moving ahead here. There's also a zone change coming up, and I believe this relates to a facility over at Oshkosh North High School for their athletic fields.
Yes, they're doing some updates to their athletic fields, so it's a pending ordinance, so it won't be acted on at this council meeting, but it's something that we just wanted people to be aware of in advance.
Okay, very good. Looks like some exciting changes over there. And then there's an item relating to some changes with marijuana possession and ordinance.
Right, this has been discussed at the council level for several meetings now, and I think we'll see what might result from it, but I think one of the things that's been most prominently discussed is a potential lowering of the fine.
Okay. All right, and then we also just wanted to mention that there are some budget workshop meetings coming up, and just to make folks aware of those.
Yes, we have our second budget workshop going to take place on August 31st at 5 o'clock, and we're going to talk a little bit more about operational budget drivers like wages, benefits. I know we'll also talk about debt and revenue. Finance Director Van Gompel has been working on that presentation, so, and I'll also participate. So we have that coming up, and then also I think we have our individual budget workshops that are going to take place with the council and departments. I think that's coming up in October.
October 18th and 19th.
Right. Right. So we'll be looking forward to that, and that provides a little more insight into the specifics of what things are going on in terms of each individual department.
Okay. Well, John, I have to cut you off. We're out of time for today, but thanks again for being here today.
No, thanks for having me, Andy.
Okay. And again, that Common Council meeting is coming up on Tuesday, August 24th at 6 p.m. at City Hall with the option for remote participation by the public. So thanks again for joining us today, and join us again in 3 weeks for another City Manager's Report.